Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with RJ. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we got a busy show. We got the college football semifinals, coaching change. We got the offseason. We got coaching changes in the NFL. But we'll start with the playoffs, and we'll start with the first matchup on Saturday, and that's between the Texans and the Chargers. The Chargers, Jim Harbaugh doing a great job in his first year, getting the Chargers to the playoffs. I mean, they finished 11-6, finished on a 3-game winning streak. Justin Herbert had a really good year this year. Ladd McConkey proved to be a good rookie. Their defense is pretty good, and you got the Texans, who C.J. Stroud had a sophomore slump, but he was still able to, get 10 wins, get the team into the playoff. Joe Mixon was a good pickup. He's had a really good year. Texans have definitely had a lot of injuries in the receiving core. It's Stephon Diggs in the middle of the season. Then Tank Dell got hurt against the Chiefs. He was out for the year. So we got Houston. This is usually what happens. Houston and the Chargers, they open up the postseason. We've seen that a lot. Houston, the Chargers open up the postseason. So we've seen that a lot. It should be an interesting matchup between these two teams. And I think this is going to be a really close, competitive game. I think it's going to be really, really close. It's going to be really competitive. I think the team that runs the football better is going to win it. And I do think that Houston will run it a little bit better. I think Houston with Joe Mixon is going to run the ball a little bit better. I think C.J. Stroud will play well like he did in the last playoff game. I know a lot of people aren't giving him a chance. They're a home underdog. They're an underdog in Houston, which I think is crazy. It's just crazy to think. A lot of people thought this team could play for the conference championship game, but they are an underdog in this game. Won a weak division, but I think that C.J. Stroud has a good game. I think he plays well. I think there was a couple touchdown passes. I think they run the ball pretty well. And I think for the Chargers, I think they run the ball decent. But I think the difference is I think it's going to be a red zone game. And I think C.J. Stroud is going to be better in the red zone than Justin Herbert is. I think it's going to come down to the end. I think it might come down to the end where C.J. Stroud leads the game-winning drive. I'm going to go with the Texans here. I'm going with the Texans. I'm going with the upset here. I'm going with the Texans 24-23 over the Chargers. So I got C.J. Stroud winning the second playoff game. Justin Herbert still not winning a playoff game. But Justin, can Herbert get his first playoff win? Can Herbert get his first playoff win of his career? He was close 2 years ago, had a 27-0 lead and blow it. Can he do it? Can he get it done this year?
So I do have the Chargers win this game, 23-16. I think the Chargers in this one, I think Harbaugh, the game plan is they control the clock in this one. I think they run the football effectively. They keep C.J. Stroud and their offense off the field. We mentioned it with the Texans. I just haven't been too impressed with them most of the year. And I think Tank Dell's a big loss for him. And, he's one of Stroud's kind of favorite receivers out there. And he's been a great addition to that team, drafted a couple years ago. So I think Herbert plays pretty well. I think they protect the football. The one thing about Harbaugh that always worries me is, at times he's never afraid to kick the field goal. And I just think in this one, Herbert plays well enough. I just don't like the way the Texans have played most of the season. And I think the Chargers are able to control this one in the line of scrimmage, and that's the difference. And I got the Chargers win this football game.
Yeah. And I think the line of scrimmage, you made a good point. The line of scrimmage, the Chargers definitely have the better offensive line of the two teams. They definitely do. I mean, Joe Alt was a really good pick. They took Joe Alt number 5 overall this year. That was a really good pick. Obviously, you got Rashawn Slater. So their offensive line is better because Houston's offensive line outside of Tons has been a mess. I mean, Pro Football Focus said they're ranked the 28th ranked offensive line in the league. That's definitely been one of the reasons why this Texans team has struggled. That's why this team lost to the Jets. It's why this team lost to they only scored 2 points against the Ravens. This offensive line is not big. It pretty much got shut out to the Ravens. It was 31-2, but they pretty much got shut out in that game. So that's why. So yeah, the offensive line was not good at all in the game. They just weren't. So yeah, I think the offensive line has just not been that good this year. But I just think Herbert he was decent in that playoff game against Jacksonville, but I just think C.J. Stroud in the playoffs played really well last year. And I think he's just going to do it again. I think this game can go either way. I'm just going to go Houston. I'm going to go with the home team here. I just think this Houston team has a little bit more experience. It's the first time that Harbaugh and Herbert have been in the postseason. I mean, not the first time they've been in the postseason. Obviously, both have been to the postseason. It's the first time they've been in the postseason together. So I think it's going to be a really close, competitive game. And I'm going to go with the Texans, though. I think the Texans win it close.
Yeah, no, I could see that happening. The Texans, It was a really weird year. The injuries haven't helped, and you mentioned the offensive line, and that's been a problem for them going back quite a few years now. They've been trying to figure out. They just haven't not been able to kind of figure out that offensive line. They've tried to make moves, and it hasn't worked out totally, and they've still struggled up front, and that's definitely been one of their problems. And Jim Harbaugh, that guy's we've talked about it a lot. That guy's won wherever he's gone, and he makes a difference or an impact immediately, and he's done it with this Chargers team. And this is the first time the Chargers in quite a long time have a good head coach in that locker room, and he's really changed the culture. And this isn't the same old Chargers teams. And I know they've flamed out in the playoffs a lot, and I think Justin Herbert in this one just has a really good game. I think they run the ball well with J.K. Dobbins. They added Elliott for another kind of goal line guy. So I just think the Chargers right now, I like the way they're playing. Again, they had Kansas City on the ropes twice. They could have had them twice. And this Texans team, yeah, they're a dog at home. I haven't liked the way they played most of the year. And I'm gonna take Jim Harbaugh in this spot going against D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, it should be an interesting game between the Chargers and Texans on Saturday. But we'll move on to the second game on Saturday, and it is the rubber match between the Ravens and Steelers. Ravens won back in Week 11, 18-16. But the Steelers won in Week 11, 18-16. But the most recent game was won by the Ravens, 34-17. That pick six from Marlon Humphrey in the fourth quarter. Russell Wilson sealed the deal. And these two teams are going in two opposite directions. The Ravens, since their bye week, have won 4 in a row, and they've won every game by 3 scores or more. And the Steelers. They've been 0-4. They've lost their last 4 games, and they've ironically they've lost every game by. The Steelers have lost every game by 4 but the 3 of the 4 games they've lost by 2 scores or more. And then last week they lost a 1-score game. Russell Wilson, he looks like he's been slipping. There's been talk of Justin Fields, coming in, not just to take over, but come in for some packages. Even Tomlin has said he might come in for some packages on Sunday. And for this game, I know it's a division rivalry, and a lot of people might think it could be a 1-score game. I don't. I think the Ravens are the Ravens are playing like a team that could go to the Super Bowl, and the Steelers look like a team right now that shouldn't be in the postseason. I think if you put the Bengals in the postseason instead of the Steelers, I think the Bengals would give the Ravens a better game here. I just don't think right now the Steelers, they got off to a really good start, but recently the Steelers have not been playing well. And really on either side of the ball. I mean, even you look at the games they lost to, they have 29 to the Chiefs. They gave up over 20 points to the Ravens. They gave up over 20 points to the Eagles. They were better last week, only holding the Bengals to 19 points, but still, the Steelers are not playing well. The Ravens are, I think, and even though there's a good chance Zay Flowers might not play, I still think the Ravens win this by 2 scores. I think it's because of Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry is a big game. I think the Ravens quarterback right now is playing much better than the Steelers quarterback. I think Lamar Jackson has 2 or 3 touchdown passes. I think they force a turnover from Russell Wilson. Steelers may stay in it early. Tomlin might keep them in early, but come third, fourth quarter, I think the Ravens start to pull away in this game. I got the Ravens 28-13 over the Steelers. But Justin, can the Steelers win the season series over the Ravens and get their first playoff win since 2016? Crazy to think that way with the Steelers. Things to think that the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in 8 years, especially with the head coach they have.
It is, and I'm with you with the Ravens 28-17. Yeah, you know, and I know there's a lot of talk about Tomlin and it's a time. I think he's definitely overachieved this team because the only thing I think they do really well is rush the passer. Like I don't think they do anything else that well, in any side of the football. So, um, and I think Baltimore's be able to take advantage and and I think Lamar plays pretty well in this one. Yeah, the Steelers are they're headed kind of in the complete opposite direction right now. The Ravens they did not play well down the stretch, and George Pickens has been a head case, and you hope like that for the Steelers to have a chance. You need you need him to make an impact and make an impact early. And can he do that? Maybe I know Tomlin's had Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell in that locker room, and they've been kind of being able to figure it out. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Justin Field needs a couple packages this week, and just to give you a different taste, and maybe even use them to try to get like some option stuff going, and maybe you can run the football for you and pick up some some yards for you on the ground. So I just like the way the Ravens are playing. I think that defense has gotten better throughout the year. So I got Baltimore here winning by 2 scores.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it's just the way that these teams are, the direction these teams are going in. And I mean, yeah, you could talk about the Steelers overachieving with the core, but the problem is that they've kind of been the same win since 2021. It's been the same thing when they had Big Ben over the hill in 2021 start, went 9-7. Didn't make the play, made the playoffs, but got crushed to the Chiefs. Then 2022 with the Trubisky Pickett combination, just missed the playoffs. Last year with the Pickett, with Kenny Pickett starting the season, but not finishing up. And Mason Rudolph, that combination lost in the first round. And I just think it's this. And you thought things were different. You really did think things were different for the Steelers, especially when they came back and won that Commander game, especially when they beat the Ravens. You thought things might be different for the Steelers, but they just haven't been. They really haven't been, and they've been really bad lately. They just haven't been this year. Russell Wilson was good at times, but he hasn't been good the last 4 weeks, and it's just falling apart for Pittsburgh, and it just shows you that right now Pittsburgh's in no man's land. The Steelers are in no man's land, and I think Mike Tomlin is still a top coach in the league. But the difference between him and an Andy Reid or a Sean McVay is he doesn't develop the quarterback position. He doesn't, and that's the biggest criticism of him, and that's shown up the last 4 years with this team. They win 9-10 games, but whenever they get in the playoffs, they don't only lose, they lose pretty convincingly in those games. So I even though this is a division game, I just don't see it. I don't see it from the Steelers right now. I don't. And you got the Ravens, who right now you could argue might be the best team in the NFL. The way they're playing right now, they might be the best team in the league since the bye week. And you got the Steelers that, as I said earlier, they don't look like a playoff team. They arguably look like the worst team in the postseason right now.
Yeah, they do. And they have the last couple of weeks, and I know all 4 of those games are good opponents that they face, but to get blown out by like 2 scores and not, obviously besides like the game last week, the other 3, it was kind of like that game was overhead in the fourth quarter. So yeah, it's been tough for the Steelers, and yeah, the quarterback play hasn't been great since Big Ben's been gone, and the Kenny Pickett didn't work out. Russell Wilson and had a nice start, but yeah, you've seen kind of the age now, and he's really struggled the last couple of weeks. And obviously Fields, was okay, wasn't anything great. So yeah, still haven't been figured it out. But I just go back to it, like they don't do anything well, and I don't like with talent wise, and some of that's probably on the GM of there to put like a contender on the field, but yeah, this Steelers team with Tomlin, you do know they're always going to be around, and they're always going to finish close to 500, get over that 500 mark, make the playoffs like they did this year. But yeah, they haven't been able to get over that hump to be a true contender in the AFC now for kind of quite a while. So yeah, it's been unfortunate for the Steelers, and yeah, this Ravens team, the way they're playing, they've gotten better throughout the year, and especially that defense, the way they looked at week 2 against the Raiders when they blew that big lead in the fourth quarter. So yeah, the Ravens right now, trying to get by this one, heading into a would be a huge showdown next week up in Buffalo.
That'd be great. That'd be great if those 2 teams played. And speaking of that, the Bills open up their postseason against the Broncos. We got the Broncos, who've had a surprising year. They get in at 10-7. The Bills 13-4. One of the best right now. You could argue one of the best teams, one of the best teams in football again. Josh Allen, who has had an MVP season. And I think in this game, I know the Broncos defense is really good, But the thing about the Broncos this year is they've really struggled against good teams. 2-7 against playoff teams. That's counting last week when Kansas City played nobody in their last game. So 2-7 against playoff teams, and 3 of those 7 losses, their defense has given up over 30 points when they had to go to Cincinnati, when they had to go to the Chargers, and when they had to go to the Ravens. So when this team has had to go on the road against good teams, especially against good teams, they've really struggled. And I think that happens in this game. I think that happens in this game. I think Josh Allen has a really good game against this defense. I think he's able to play well. Yeah, they could take Cooper away, but he still has Shakir. He's still gonna Allen is still gonna make players better. He's gonna make plays with his legs. James Cook is, I think, gonna have a pretty good game. And then I think on the other side, I think that the Broncos might have some success on offense, but I just don't think it's gonna be enough. I think Nix in his first playoff game is gonna throw a pick or two. I think they'll move the ball a little bit against the Bills defense, but I just don't think it's going to be. I definitely don't think it's going to be enough. I think Josh Allen's definitely going to outplay Bo Nix. I think the experience is going to take over in this game. And I got the Bills here. I got the Bills 31-17 over the Broncos to set up that matchup with the Ravens. And that is going to be a great matchup if that happens in the divisional round. But Justin, can Sean Payton and Bo Nix pull off a huge upset in Buffalo on Sunday afternoon?
No, I'm with you here. I got the Bills 31-16. You mentioned I think Denver's defense is not as good as advertising. You mentioned it, the competition against the good teams this year. And for Buffalo, if you don't include last week, 9 of the last 10 games they've scored at least 30 points. In that one that they didn't, they only scored 24 in New England. So that Bills offense has been rolling now pretty much since like mid-October. And I don't see this Denver defense going up there and be able to get many stops here. And I know the Bills have had their playoff struggles at times, but I do think this week they should be able to get over the hump against Denver. And I think Bo Nix makes some plays out there, but I just don't think it's enough. I don't think they're going to keep up with Buffalo here. And I do think this should be like a 2-score game. And Josh Allen, that team's rolling, and and you mentioned that. That Bills Raven game should be a great one next week, and that should be a lot of points in that one. Should be shootout.
Oh yeah, I mean you could argue if they face off in the divisional round, the winner of that game could very easily go to the Super Bowl because the Chiefs, they've been good this year, but they haven't been great. So yeah, I think the winner of that game goes to the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think the Bills and Ravens both. I think they're going to be the teams. They're going to be the two teams that are going to have the easiest time this week. I think the Bills and Ravens. I think those two teams are going to have the easiest time in the wild card round. But we will move on to the NFC, and we got a big matchup in Philadelphia between the Packers and Eagles. Now, the big storyline going into this game is both quarterbacks. Love, he's banged up with a hand injury, and Jalen Hurts, he's close to clearing. I think I've heard he is close to clearing concussion protocol, but he hasn't yet cleared concussion protocol. But the Eagles said they think he is going to practice in a limited fashion this week. So I'm getting the sense that he's close to clearing concussion protocol and is going to play this week. And this team's met up in week one. And the big thing of that week one game is both teams were able to run the ball pretty well. And both teams were able to create a lot of big plays. But I think it's going to be they definitely think it's going to be different this game. I do think both quarterbacks are going to play pretty well in the game. Even though Love is banged up, I still think he's going to play well. I think Hurts is going to play well. But I think the biggest difference in this game is Saquon Barkley is going to have a better game than Josh Jacobs. I think the Eagles will do a better job containing Josh Jacobs, and the Packers run defense definitely improved this year. But I don't think they're going to do. I think the Eagles run defense will do a better job containing Josh Jacobs than the Packers run defense will containing Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley has. I think this is a close competitive game, but I think in the end, what's going to take over is I think the Eagles will get a lead in the second half, and I think they'll run Saquon Barkley. I think it comes down to the end one way. The Eagles defense makes a stop against Jordan Love, or the Eagles just run out the clock with Saquon. But I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. But I hate to say it as a Giants fan, I think the Eagles are going to advance here. I got the Eagles advancing. I got the Eagles advancing 27-20 over the Packers. But Justin, can Jordan Love do what he did last year in Dallas, have a big game and lead the Packers to an upset win and get them to the divisional round for the second year in a row?
I got the Eagles here as well, 20-17. Nick Sirianni said this morning that Jalen Hurts is going to practice today, so he should. I assume he's going to be cleared at some point this week, and I assume he's going to be out there Sunday. And I think this Eagles offense will be able to have a pretty good day with Barkley on the ground. And you mentioned Love being banged up here. Christian Watson's out for the remainder of the year with the ACL injury. Like the Packers core, wide receiver tight end kind of banged up too. And I didn't like how they played well down the stretch. that game with the Vikings. Again, they probably should have beat the Bears, but they didn't. The special teams kind of cost them in that one on Sunday. So I didn't love how the Packers kind of ended the season here, and I think the Eagles have been playing pretty well. It's always tough to go into Lincoln Financial and get a win, and I just think Barkley's a difference here, and Hurts plays well enough. Maybe there's, you mentioned last week, maybe there's some rust here with Jalen Hurts because it's been a couple weeks since he's been out there, but I think maybe if the slow first quarter like we've seen at times this year with the Eagles, I think kind of after that, I think this offense to be fine, and I think they should be able to put up points this week.
You talk about the slow starts with the Eagles. I think they're going to get off to a slow start because if Hurts plays, he hasn't played in 3 weeks, so I think they get off to a slow start. But I think they overcome it. And the reason why is I think that this is a different Eagle team. Their defense is one of the top defenses in the league. They got probably the best. I hate to say it, but probably one of the best running backs in football in Saquon Barkley. So this is a different Eagle team. This is not the Eagle team of last year. I feel like they'll get off to a slow start, but I think they come back in this game. I think they come back because of the weapons they have on offense and Saquon. I think they come back. I do think they get off to a little bit of a slow start, but I do think they come through here. This is a different team than last year. Last year's team was definitely not as good defensively and didn't have the run game that they have now. So I hate to say it, but I do think the Eagles do pull through. I do think the Eagles win here and get into the divisional round where they'll be hosting a game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, this Eagle team should be able to go over the hump here. Barkley's made a huge impact to help out that running game this year, and because their passing game, they're 30th in the league this year. They've really heavily relied on Barkley for majority of that offense this year, and I think that continues against a Packer team that Jeff Hafley's done a really nice job with the defense this year, and I do think the Eagles though are able to kind of have a pretty good day on run the football there, and I think that's the difference here at home on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll be the difference. And the big question going into the game too is how much pressure is on Sirianni to win this game. I think there is pressure. I don't think he gets, honestly, even if they lose this, I don't think he gets fired. But I think there is pressure because it's not 100% clear. It's not a guarantee that he keeps his job if they lose. But I still do even if they lose, I still think he keeps his job.
Yeah, I think even if they lose, he keeps it. After that week 2 debacle this year against Atlanta, I think he regrouped the team pretty well. I still don't love him, but I think he's done a good job with his locker room this year. It kind of, middle of the year, there are some things in the locker room about AJ Brown, and that went away pretty quickly. So I think he's done a pretty good job handling the locker room this year. And I think if they do lose this game, I do expect him to be back next season.
Yeah, I do. I mean, they won 14 games. Listen, for all the crap he gets, he's won. He's had a winning season every year, and he's won 14 games twice.
Yeah. So it's not as bad as it looked. Like last year was just such a debacle of how that thing ended that you didn't really know if he was gonna be able to ride the ship, and he's done it this year. And so credit to him because it really did not look like that was gonna pan out this year, but it has this year. So he deserves credit for that, for getting this team back on track this season.
He definitely does. Now going from 1 week one rematch to another, we got the Commanders, who got into the postseason this year because Jaden Daniels will be the offensive rookie of the year. He had a great year. Dan Quinn had a really good year first year too. And they will face the Bucs. And last week the Bucs struggled a little bit in the first half, but they were able to pull that win out. Baker Mayfield's had a really good year, 41 touchdown passes. Mike Evans, another 1,000-yard season. And I think this game is definitely going to be closer than what it was in week 1, because the Commanders are definitely a different team than they were in week 1. Jaden Daniels was a different quarterback than he was in week 1 as well. But I do think this game is going to come down to the quarterback that makes less mistakes. And Todd Bowles is going to bring a lot of pressure at Jaden Daniels. Now, we know Jaden Daniels can pick it up, but with the postseason and everything, I think there could be a chance Daniels makes a mistake or two. I think he throws a pick or two in this game. And I do think the Bucs contain the run game better than the Commanders will contain their run game. I think Bucky Irving and Rashard White will do a pretty good job on the ground, and Baker will throw a couple touchdown passes. I think this one comes down to the end. I think it comes down to the end with the ball in Daniels' hands, but I think the Bucs defense makes a stop. And that's why I got the Bucs getting to the divisional round for the second year in a row. I got the Bucs winning this game 24-17 over the Commanders. But Justin, can Jaden Daniels lead the Commanders to their first playoff win in 20 years? And funny, their last playoff win, guess who it was against? The Bucs. Yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's
No,
been
no,
quite a
no,
while for this
19 years ago, I mean.
19, yeah. Yeah, it's been quite a while for this Bucks franchise, or I mean, for the Commanders franchise for a playoff win. And yeah, I do have the Commanders this one, 27-23. Um, I worry, about the Bucks in this one. I didn't love how the Bucks defense played last week. The Saints moved the ball up and down the field on him. Rattler played pretty well. I know the Commanders, the last handful of weeks, they haven't ran the football effectively, but I do think Jaden Daniels has a pretty good game in this one. Yeah, this is a totally different team than it was week one in his first game. And you always can kind of count on Baker to make a mistake at some point in the game. And I do think the Commanders are able to capitalize off of that in this one. Um, so I do think Jaden Daniels plays well. I do think the running game has a decent game on the ground. And I do think the Commanders defense forced a turnover too in this one. I do have the Commanders going on the road here and knocking off Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I can see the Commanders winning this. I mean, I think this is a good matchup for them. And it was funny when those games were kind of ending right at the same time. I'm like, you definitely want to be the 6th seed instead of the 7th seed, because the 7th seed you got to go to Philly. 6th seed, you got a chance to pull an upset. They definitely do. The Commanders definitely do. I mean, with the way with McLaurin, with Jaden, even their defense has definitely been improved this year, and their defense could force a turnover or two. But I just think I just like the Bucks because I like the roster a little bit better. Quarterback's got more experience in the playoffs. Even though the coach, I think the Commanders are the better coach team. Just think experience in the playoffs. The Bucks will be able to run the football better. They're red hot. They've won 6 out of their last 7. So I mean, but this game can definitely go either way. I could see Jaden Daniels pulling off a playoff win in his rookie year.
Yeah, no, I could totally see it. And yeah, we've talked a lot about him this year and how he's changed the franchise. And yeah, if he can really get this now cap off the season with winning a playoff game too on top of that would be icing on the cake for that franchise. So be for Daniels, he's been awesome this year. And Baker's had a really nice year. Bulls has done a nice job with this Bucks team, but I think the Commanders right now are playing a little bit better than Tampa Bay, and I don't in what of the playoff game last week, pretty much against the Saints. I just did not love how the Bucks played, and you know, and I just think the Commanders this week offensively have a pretty good game against the Tampa Bay defense.
You got a good point. The Bucks did not play well in that game last week. Yeah, they were lucky that the Saints played pretty much nobody in the game. Nobody was playing for the Saints last week. They were lucky because the Saints were moving the ball against them. The problem is they couldn't get any touchdowns. They had to settle for field goals. And Baker Mayfield was able to lead the Bucks to down from 10 points down and win that game. So, but yeah, they were lucky who they played last week, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Because the Saints were moving the ball up and down against them. Now there's a chance they get Antoine Winfield back, but if they don't, a big reason why the Commanders could win that game is I think, Zach Ertz could have a nice game because Zach Ertz could have a nice game in the middle of the field, and the Commanders could be able to run the ball. So if Winfield's not there, I could definitely see the Commanders pulling an upset here.
Yeah, totally. Because that's a big loss for Tampa because he's about beginning that year, and that's when Denver went up there and put up 27, and Bo Nix looked unbelievable that week too. So yeah, that's definitely a big loss. He's definitely one of the better safeties in the sport right now. So yeah, they could be a huge loss for a variety of reasons you mentioned there too. To not have him on the field there Sunday night would be huge for that Tampa defense because he is so important. On the back end of their defense and even to kind of support up in the running game.
Oh yeah. That is big. I mean, it is big. Yeah. He got hurt. He got hurt. I think it was in the middle of December. He's been in and out of the lineup all year. I mean, they did win in Detroit without him, but he's been in and out of the lineup all year. So that would definitely be big for the Bucks. But it should be a really good game. It should be a competitive game. Definitely a better game than went on in week 1 between the two teams. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I'm just going to go with the experienced quarterback here. I'm going to go with this guy who played really well in the playoffs last year, knocked out the Eagles. I'm just going to go with the experienced quarterback here. Funny thing about the Bucks is, guess who their last 3 opponents they played in the first round? Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders.
Yeah, all NFC East teams.
Yeah.
They're all NFC East teams. They're just missing the Giants. Maybe
they won't be
next
facing
year.
No.
Maybe the trend.
They won't. The trend's not going to work. They're not going to be facing the Giants for a while. Trust me. They won't be facing the Giants. Trust me with that.
Yeah, I saw the schedule. I know we'll get to them. I saw the schedule. That thing's brutal too for your Giants.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, should be a competitive game between the two. but I got the Bucs winning this one close. Now, the final game of Wild Card Weekend, the last of the 6 games, is on Monday night between the Vikings and the Rams, and I think this is a rematch of a game in Week 8, which the Rams won. The Rams pulled the upset over the Vikings in Week 8. They won 30-20 because there was a lot of talk at that point would the Rams trade? Would the Rams trade Cooper Kupp? That was the conversation. Would they move on from Cooper Kupp? Would they have kind of a fire? Would they kind of break this team up? But they didn't. They won that game, and then they got hot and they ended up winning the NFC West. So, but I think for this game, I think it's going to be close and competitive. But I think the big difference in this game is going to be, I think Minnesota is going to run the football better with Aaron Jones, and I think that they're going to be able to they're going to be able to contain the run game, which they didn't do great last time. They're going to be able to contain the run game of Kyron Williams, and I think it's going to be close and competitive. Both quarterbacks are going to make a mistake in the game, but I do think Sam Darnold, who's played really well this year, I think the game's tied late. I think he leads a game-winning drive. And I'm going to go with the more talented team here. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I'm going to go with the 14-win team to win and head to Detroit next week. I'm going to go with the Vikings to beat the Rams 23-20. But Justin, can the Rams pull out the sweep of the Vikings and get to the divisional round?
I had the Rams this one 22-20. Last week we kind of saw the old Sam Darnold.
Oh, you did.
Looked like you seen both sides. That was bad, and he had a rough one. And the Rams are kind of rested. They McVay rested the starters last week, and I think the way Stafford's played, I think the way the wide receiver core has been playing, like the way the Rams have played the second half of the year, I think they're gonna be a tough out in the NFC, playoffs here, and I do think they go at home here and knock off Minnesota, and if they can protect Stafford, who if he was sacked at least 3 times this year, the Rams are like 1-6, so. If Stafford can get time, if he's protected, he gets the ball out quick. I think Nakua and Cooper Kupp have pretty good games in this one, and I do think the Rams at home here find a way to win.
You talked about protecting Stafford, and that was a good point. You talked about protecting Stafford. If they can protect Stafford, and Stafford has won. He has won a playoff game. So he has won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. So he definitely has more experience than Darnold. But I just think the Vikings are a better overall team in the Rams. I think the run defense for the Rams is very, very shaky. Even though their defensive line, they got promise there with Kobe Turner, with Fisk, with Young, and with Jared Verse. So they got promise there. I think their run defense is shaky. I think Aaron Jones could have a big game. But yeah, if they can protect Stafford, the Rams definitely have a very, 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 very good chance to win this game if they protect him. But here's my issue with the Rams. Really, those 3 games they play, I know they won all 3 of those games against the Niners, against the Jets, and against the Cardinals, but they didn't score more than 20 points in either game. So to me, their offense is really, really outside of that. Ever since that Bills game, which they played great, they were great in that Bills game. Their offense has really been struggling recently, and they're facing. I know the defense didn't play that well last week, but they're facing a really good Vikings defense and a really good defensive coordinator in Brian Flores. I think he's going to force Stafford to make a mistake here. I think force Stafford to make a mistake or two. That's why I think the Vikings come over with the win. I know it's going to be close and competitive, but I think the Vikings win close, and I think it's because of the fact that the Ram offense has not been that good these last couple of weeks.
No, it hasn't. And I know that Jet game, the weather wasn't great, and I give them credit for going on the road in cold weather and getting that win. And at least this one, you do have the dome, and it should, so the weather condition will be fine, and and I think that's going to help out the Rams this one. I know I picked Minnesota last week. It was more because of all the Lions injuries.
Yeah.
I don't know how great this Vikings team is. Like I know they're 14-3. Credit to them, but it feels like a Vikings team that they found a way to win a lot of close games. And that's kind of my worry here. They beat Seattle close. They beat the Packers wins a nice one. The Cardinals at home was a close one. Chicago was a close one. So they've been in a lot of close games that they found ways to win this year. And, credit to them. I think the Rams right now are playing better. And I do think what the Rams able to rest some guys last week, and the Vikings now, they played Sunday night. They have the extra day, of course, will be Monday night, but I think the Rams right now are a little more well rested, and they didn't, and their bye week was, I think, week 5 too. So I think or it was week 6. So I think that's another huge kind of advantage here that the Rams kind of got off their feet last week, or some of the guys got off their feet last week, and now are a little bit more well rested.
And I get what you're saying about the Vikings winning a lot of close games, but I do think this team is a little bit is better than it was in 2 years ago. The team that Giants beat in the playoffs. I think defensively they're definitely better. Even offensively, I think they're still really good. And you look at their losses. I mean, 2 of their 3 losses were to the best team in the NFC. So I think this Viking team. I think Sam Darnold's had a really good year. Good receivers in Addison and Jefferson. Good running back. Really good defense. Now, part of the fact the defense has been as good as it has been is because of Brian Flores. But, guys like Van Ginkel and Grenard have had good years. Pace has been a good middle linebacker, really good run defense. Now, pass defense, when they don't get pressure, that's the weakness, and that's what you saw in the first matchup with these two teams was Stafford played well, and they also got pressure on Sam Darnold, which you see what happens when you get pressure on Sam Darnold. He's not as good as you saw last week, but Darnold has done a good job without Christian Darrisaw. So I think it's close and competitive. I'm going Vikings here. I'm going Vikings close, but the game could definitely go either way because you have the more talented team in the Vikings, they're going on the road against the coach and a quarterback that have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they are, and McVay's done a really good job, and this is a game too. McVay was O'Connell's kind of mentoree, so you kind of got that matchup too in there, and O'Connell's done a really nice. Did you see the rumors of the Vikings would be like up to trade Kevin O'Connell?
That's the thing. I think that might have been a little bit. It could have potentially been a distraction last week with this Kevin O'Connell thing. It definitely could I'm not reading into it big time, but it definitely could be a potential distraction because they did have one of their worst offensive performances last week.
Yeah, they did. And I'm not toy buying either because that's going to be expensive trade too. They'll be asking for a lot too. So I can't imagine that they'll find a partner. But it was interesting to read that the other day. And so I think these are two really good teams. I do think they're very evenly matched here. But I'm going to take the experience of you mentioned McVay and Stafford here over Darnold and O'Connell, who Darnold's making his first playoff start here. So I'm gonna take the Rams to find a way and Stafford to get it done here.
Yeah, should be an interesting first round. Should be an interesting wild card weekend. You got should have 6 good games on wild card weekend. But we will move on to some league news. And last week we were sitting here talking about Gerard Mayo. We both talked about should the Patriots move on from him, and we both thought they would. We both thought they should, and they did that right after they beat the Bills, but it was really kind of a loss because it cost them the number 1 pick. But right after they beat the Bills on Sunday, they fired Gerard Mayo after 1 year, and I think it's the right move, and the reason why I do is because of the interest Mike Vrabel has in the job. This team has not been good since 2019, but a coach like Mike Vrabel is still interested in being the head coach. And if that's the case, you got to go for him. You got to go for it. You got to make him. You got to go for it. You got to hire him. And I think the Patriots, if they're able to get a Mayo or a Ben Johnson, this is the right move. No, my bad. If they're able to get Vrabel or Ben Johnson, this is the right move. So if they get one of those two guys, I think it is the right move. And I think Vrabel, it looks like Vrabel is going to be the head coach of this team. I think he is going to be the head coach of this team. And I think I said it last week. If you kept Mayo and you were bad again, you were going down a path of being the Giants, the Jets, the Browns, the Jaguars. You were going down that path. But if you fire Mayo, hire Vrabel, it looks like you guys are getting back to being a respectable organization. And I think if the Patriots do end up hiring Mayo, I think they're going to go in that direction instead of the direction they would have if they kept Mayo and continued to be bad.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I give credit because that fandom is still in him he doesn't want his team to turn in that dumpster fire. Now, the only thing I'm mad at him about is he knew before the game. Fire Mayo on Thursday or Friday. Don't let him coach this game. Pay one of the assistants to do it, and then make sure. Even though the Bills pumped the ball at the 33-yard line, they weren't letting the Patriots win that game either. Or they weren't going to win that game. The Bills. But yeah, that's the only thing because their statement was out an hour after. Like they knew before the game. There was an article too. I think it was by Kevin Adams. Mayo after a bad loss would on the flight home would be playing cards. Like it was just guys were kind of. In the spring, we're kind of like knew that this was not going to be good. The week 17, he said, "Oh yeah, we're benching Stevenson, or he's not going to start because of the fumble issues." Steven comes out and starts the first drive, and Mayo goes, "Oh, that was a coach's decision." Like he didn't know how to handle discipline. Like it was a total mess, and they had to do it. I'm glad. Look, unfortunately, it's it didn't pan out, but he was not ready for that job. Him and Brian Callahan were probably the two most lost head coaches this year in the sport, and it was bad. So I'm excited. I think it's very bold. He's coming in tomorrow. I would hope he doesn't leave the building before he signs a contract because I know Brady. I know we'll get the Raiders. My dad and brother they want Vrabel too.
Yeah,
I think it's a done deal, but
yeah.
I don't want Brady to try to get his hands on him. So hope he doesn't leave the building Thursday. So I'm looking for I'm hoping it's Vrabel because they need another adult in their room. And I don't care that he's a Bill guy. Get back to some point, some sort of that, that tree or that kind of how he goes about his programs because that's what they need in that locker room. Again, I mentioned a couple times like the bike riding and the lot. I can't stand that. It was too much of a 180, and it just absolutely flamed out.
It definitely did. It definitely did. And I think that I think that the things should work out with Vrabel. And yeah, you talk about going back to the Bill days. They fired Bill I feel like they fired Bill more as a GM as the head coach. I still think he was a really good head coach even when he got fired. But yeah, Vrabel would be really, really good. Would be really good for this team. I think that but the big question is going to be is what's going to happen with the general manager. It looks like they're going to keep Elliott Wolf, but what could happen is they keep him through the draft, and then Vrabel wants his own personnel guy. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But I do think the Patriots are in a good spot, and the big question now too is the Patriots job the most attractive job out there? And I think it is. You look at all the jobs out there. I think it is. I think it's better than the Bears job just because of the history of the Bears. They haven't won a playoff game since 2010, and Ryan Poles hasn't proven to be that good of a GM. I think it's better than the Jacksonville job. I think Trevor Lawrence, yes, he's had moments, but he has not been great. I think it's definitely better than the Raider job and the Jet job. That's enough said. And I think it's better than the Saints job because with the Saints, you don't know what you're doing at quarter. You don't know what's going to happen. What direction you're going in at quarterback, and a lot of defensive players like Tyrann Mathieu, Cameron Jordan, and Demario Davis, they're getting old. So I think this is the best job available right now.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you said that because I was, would it be biased if I had it? Because I was thinking maybe the Bears, but I did put the Patriots because, the history's there, and the Bears with the GM situation too. So yeah, I do think the Patriots the best one out there because you have so much money too. The other thing with Wolf, do you trust him? And I do think to go back to your point about Wolf, I do think it also signals it's Vrabel because I think he'd be okay working with Vrabel too. Like I do think they'd be aligned on a lot of that stuff.
It would kind of be an arranged marriage though.
Yeah, would be
because Vrabel's not going there to work with Elliott Wolf. He's going there because he was a Patriot, won 3 Super Bowls. He's going there to work for the Crafts. He's not going there to work for Elliott Wolf.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So yeah, he wouldn't. Because it's a big year for Wolf, and I guess they changed how they draft, evaluating the draft. So we'll see. We'll see. But it's a big year for Wolf. So yeah, see how that Vrabel and Wolf is that kind of how that ends up working. But I do think the Patriots, because you do have the guy in Drake May. You even saw Van Pelt, like that guy. Joe Milton looked like a really good. He looked like a good quarterback on Sunday.
But I think Van Pelt's going to be gone. So they're not going to force an offensive coordinator on the new head coach.
Yeah.
If it's Vrabel, if it's Ben Johnson, they're not going to force an offensive coordinator on him.
I'm hoping he stays on the QB coach. That's what I'm hoping. I think it's McDaniels.
That's not happening, though. That's not happening. I think it's going to be Vrabel and McDaniels.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's McDaniels as well. So, which I think McDaniels' rookie year did a nice job with Mac.
He did.
I think McDaniels is okay as an OC, but so I wouldn't mind that. So yeah, if the Patriots hit it right in the draft, which obviously now they got the 4th pick, and if they get a T. Higgins and they can build up that old line, I do think it's the best job out there because that Division 2 outside of the Bills right now, the Dolphins are kind.
That's a good point. The Dolphins, you see Tyreek Hill, he wants out of there. The Jets, they're not going to be
Please
good.
hire Rex.
Oh yeah, that'd be funny. That'd be funny if the Jets hire Rex. But yeah, the Jets, they're not going to be good. So yeah, it's the best job. It's right now. You look at the division, and you compare it to the Bears. You compare things to the Bears. The Bears are in a brutal division. They got the Lions. They got with Dan Campbell. They got the Packers with Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, and they got the Vikings with Kevin O'Connell. So this division, outside of the Bills, yeah, there's a very good chance the Patriots, if they hire Vrabel and Drake May has a good year and they get the right free agents, have a good draft, they could very easily finish and win. Eight, maybe 9 games and finish in second place.
Yeah, totally. And I think that next year that's kind of the goal for me is get into contention of the wild card and play meaningful games in December here. So yeah, I think it's totally possible. I don't think the schedule's that impossible either next year. Like I know they got the Raiders at home, they got the Giants at home. They play the NFC North, I believe, which that's going to be a tough one. But I do think their schedule wasn't daunting. So yeah, I do think if they have a good draft, they have a good free agency, they spend the money right, I do think this team should be fighting for 8-9 wins and hopefully maybe he's trying to sneak into a wild card spot.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely see that happening with the Patriots. Now moving on to the Giants, and this was a surprise to some people, not a shock because this was a surprise. Now, one guy I wasn't surprised about, Joe Shane. I wasn't that surprised. I had a feeling he might come back, seeing the draft he had this year. But Brian Daboll, he had a great first year, but 2, poor seasons. Last year finished at 6-11. Offense wasn't good. Couldn't get along with Wink Martindale, forces him out, and then it gets even worse this year. Just going 3-14, planes flying over the stadium. If planes flying over the stadium, and the team regressed. Daniel Jones, he regressed. They ended up, as we know, getting rid of him after 10 games. Right. For me, I wanted, even though it would have been another change, I wanted to change because I just think they got this regime got very close to hitting rock bottom the way it was when with that 3rd and 9 quarterback sneak with Joe Judge. I think they got close to that. I think they really did. I think the defense has regressed. I mean, the drafts of Joe Shane the first 2 years were pathetic. This draft, it was that's what Mara brought up. Mara, when he defended Shane, he talked about this draft. That was his big thing. He talked about the draft he had this year. Now, there's one really proven guy, that's Malik Neighbors. Now, there's other guys with potential. Tyrone Tracy showed he had potential. Drew Phillips showed potential. Theo Johnson showed potential, and so a lot of these, there were guys who showed potential, but still, those first 2 drafts were terrible from Joe Shane. And then Brian Daboll has really lost his way after the first year. He had a really good first year, great first year where he won Coach of the Year, but he's really lost his way after that. I wanted to move on. And the reason why I wanted to move on is now I feel like with these guys there and with these guys having their jobs on the line, I feel like they're going to make desperate moves. I feel like there could potentially these guys wanted their own quarterback. They wanted their own quarterback. They could do the wrong thing here, go from 3-1 and trade up for Cam Ward. That wouldn't be good, giving up a draft pick. Or they could they could end up signing giving Sam Darnold a 5-year deal, which is very risky. So I think they're going to do risky things because their job's on the line. I would have started fresh. Started this rebuild. But I could see why they're back. I could see the reason they're back. I think it's pretty obvious. The reason for Shane this year's draft, the reason for Daboll the first year, and they really haven't had their own quarterback, even though they paid Daniel Jones to be their guy. Now, they might argue ownership got involved there, but all the things that have happened with Joe Shane, the Saquon stuff, the bad drafts, and then Brian Daboll these last 2 years, I wanted them gone, but they are staying, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens from here.
Really well. And if I could put my conspiracy hat on here for a second.
Yep, go ahead.
Is he doing this? Mayor doing this to go start fresh next year? To go draft one Archie Manning?
I don't know about that. I don't think he's doing that. I just think he still. I mean, I don't know if he really believes in the guys. I just don't think he wants to go through the process again. He had to go through the process with a new coach after the 2017 season. Same thing after the 2019 season. Same thing after the 2021 season. I don't think he wants to go through the process again. I think that's why he's keeping these guys. But either way, seeing what they do, even if they, if they trade up for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, or even if they sign a veteran quarterback to be their guy. See, they draft Travis Hunter and sign a veteran like a Kirk Cousins or a Justin Fields, or dare I say Aaron Rodgers. They're still not a playoff team. They're probably still not more than a 6-win team. And these guys are probably going to lose their jobs next year anyway. So it's just not looking good for the 2025 Giants, no matter what they do in the offseason right now.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not great because I don't know how you guys win a home game next year. That home schedule is brutal.
Oh, yeah, you see it. The Chargers, the
Yeah.
Chiefs, the three division teams, the 49ers, the Packers, the Vikings. Yeah, it's going to be very hard to win a home game.
Yeah, that's that. So yeah, that's not gonna. So yeah, it's not gonna go well next year. So I get it. Yeah, with Mara, it's been a lot of. He's had to change a lot. I'm with you. Like I know he probably didn't want to do it, but it's not like this thing's headed in the right direction. Like it's gone. It's the last 3 years you've digressed, and I think that's when you got to pull the plug. And but I get it. But that's the thing. Like you're not going to find your quarterback in this draft. I would hope you guys don't trade up to go get it. I said last week I wouldn't draft Sanders or Ward in the first round. I don't think they're first round talent. Maybe in the second and third round you pick a Jackson Dart and you experiment and see if he could be the guy. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback though. So that's the interesting thing. So yeah, like I don't know who you go at quarterback. Like and then you mentioned, change first two drafts, like, the offensive line. I know it was a little bit better this year. It still wasn't great, but like Evan Neal, guy can't play. Like he
Evan
absolutely whiffed.
Kayvon Thibodeau too.
Yeah.
He's not lived up to potential. Wandale Robinson, he's been okay. And then Cordell Flott, yeah, he's been garbage. Josh Azudu, Marcus Smith-Keithen's not even on the team anymore. Micah McFadden, he's been all right. I'll give him that. And then you get the draft the next year. What a disgrace. Deontay Banks has been garbage. John Michael Schmidt has been below average. Jalen Hyatt can't even get on the field. He was a third round pick. It's just with these draft, and then we know about the Saquon stuff. We all know about the Saquon stuff, and calling him a $12 million back, embarrassing himself on Hard Knocks. I just don't think this is the right move. I don't think this is the right move. I really don't. I don't, and I think they're setting themselves up for it's going to be if say they get it like a Justin Fields and go 5-12, it's a total waste because it's total wasted season. You'd make no progress because you wouldn't have a young quarterback in there, and you'd have a lame duck coach and a lame duck GM.
Yeah, and you would, and that's kind of why I think maybe for Arch Manning next year, you just hey Eli, who do you want coaching your nephew next year?
Yeah,
so there's a little me that thinks that, but because again, I just go back to Daniel Jones stuff. Bear wanted him. There's a connection to Eli, former head coach, and Daniel. That's why I think there's a little. That's why I just believe a little bit of why he's doing this and just start fresh next year. And just hope to go to, not hoping, but like, hey, we go 2-15, we get Arch Manning.
We'll see. But another reason is say Mara wanted Daniel Jones and Shane and Daboll wanted to franchise him. Maybe he's just saying, you know what? Maybe I'll just give them. Maybe that was my mistake, and I'll give them, this year maybe a chance to get their quarterback that they really, really, really want. The issue is this quarterback class is terrible, and so they're either going to have, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward or Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, maybe even potentially Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's just not good at all. It's just not good at all. It's not good at all. And and what should have been enough probably for Mara was the stuff in Hard Knocks with the Saquon stuff. And yes, I was on board with moving on because I wanted the offensive line to improve. But the thing was, the offensive line wasn't that much improved. Even when Andrew Thomas, it was improved, but it wasn't great. Even when Andrew Thomas was in there, and they ran the ball decent. They ran the ball. They were okay running the football, but they weren't what Saquon was in Philadelphia. So I think that the stuff in Hard Knocks should have been enough for Mara. We know Mara wanted Saquon back. He did. So the stuff in Hard Knocks would have been enough. I just think this is a mistake. This is a mistake I know that you want continuity, you want stability, but these two guys really proved to you the last 2 years. They really have proven to you after 3 years that really they've proven to you that this organization, they've proven to you that they really can't put this organization in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And yeah, the Hard Knock stuff, we've mentioned it a lot the last handful of months here. Like that was absolutely telling about that front office and how things were operating at the time. And yeah, like it again, yeah, and I know you mentioned about the draft this year, and that's turned out to look pretty like, yeah, there's a little bit of bright spot, but I don't think that totally should have been able to save his job. And yeah, I'm with you. I just don't think Mara wanted to probably throw it all out again and have to restart it again. But hey, he's got to, because you're not going to find your quarterback in this class. And yeah, who are you going to go with? Is all like, do they just go with ride with Drew Lock next year? Like, is that
No way.
no,
No
you
way
know,
No way they ride with Drew Lock. It's probably going to be either Fields or Cousins or maybe even Darnold if they go out and sign him, or one of the rookie quarterbacks. It's not going to be Drew Lock. Now, what they'll either do one or two. They'll probably do probably maybe they could do three different things. They could either which wouldn't be good. They could trade up to get Warder Sanders. They could do that. And that would be their guy. They'd have to give him a first round pick next year, but that would be their guy. They could take Travis Hunter, sign a veteran like a Justin Fields or a Kirk Cousins, and then maybe take a Beck or a Ewers in the second or third round. They could do that. Or they could just, take Travis Hunter and sign Sam Darnold like a 4 or 5 year deal worth up to $40 million a year. Option number 2 is probably their best option for the organization going forward.
Yeah. Now, I will say, 'cause your option A of trading up for Kim or Sidor, Shane knows that if it goes poorly this year, I'm not going to be here.
Oh,
so he might risk that first round pick next year to trade up.
Oh, I could see it. I very easily could see it happening because he wants his quarterback. I could see that happening because Maris says, I don't have any more patience. They have another 5 and 12. They have to probably be around 6 to 7 wins, even in contention late in the year for this team for these guys to come back. Mara doesn't want to have that happen. So what might end up happening? Yeah, I could see Joe Shane, trading up for that first round for that pick to get his quarterback.
Yeah. And that's the thing that would worry me is, man, you trade up and these guys, I don't think either Warder or Shador are going to be your franchise guys. And then you lose another first round pick for your new GM to come in the door, which would create more problems. So, yeah, I would probably go option B and hope that you find something in back or you use a dart and you just find, maybe you hit a diamond and you go that route. I think that's your best one. Cause I don't know if Roger behind that O-line next year to be 42.
Rodgers definitely. I know he wasn't terrible, but what about him overthrowing Garrett Wilson in the Viking game? The terrible pick 6 against the Seahawks. He had 4 or 5 times he had the ball in his hands and he didn't get it done. I'm not saying he's awful. Like you take him over Cousins or Fields right now any day of the week. But he's not as good as Darnold. And if you want Darnold, you're going to have to pay him $40 million a year and give him a multi-year deal at this point. So I think the best thing to do is take Travis Hunter, get a Ewers or a Beck in the second or third round, and see if you can improve the team with Travis Hunter, and maybe eventually play Beck your Beck is probably going to be tough because he's coming off the injury, but play a Beck or yours maybe late in the year and see, and if they have success, you might be able to save yourself. But so I think that's the best option. I think option 2 is definitely the best option.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, I think Dart may be your best option in this case because I think Ewers is coming back to school. Somebody, it sounds like, is going to pay Ewers $6 million in NIL, and I think for Ewers he's going to make one more year in college than he would in the draft. I think probably. So I think he's probably coming back to school. So I don't think Beck has it. I'm higher on Dart more than I am with like Beckers and the rest of the quarterback in this class. I don't think he'd be great, but I think he's maybe your best case if you do try to find somebody that's not in the first round. That'd be my guy. I think Lane's done a pretty good job with him the last couple of years, but it sounds like, not to go down a rabbit hole, but it sounds like the NCAA is going to allow you to have a 5th year. So it sounded like maybe if he can get that, Lane made it sound like doors open for him to come back next year. So maybe you couldn't even get Jackson Dart in the draft. So yeah, I think your option would be limited, but yeah, you got to try somebody. And hey, if it doesn't work in 1 year, you move on and maybe Archie Manning falls in your lap. But that's the other thing. We haven't seen much from him yet. Like,
we don't even know yet. Really seen nothing from him.
He's the first row, So who knows? So yeah, I know you guys are a mess right now. It's unfortunate because I know it's been a complete mess. It's pretty much you guys won that last Super Bowl. It's been going on downhill since.
It absolutely has. So we'll move on to quickly. We'll talk about a couple other changes. Raiders fired Antonio Pierce yesterday, and I think I might have just stuck with him for one more year. I just think it was unfair just to give him 1 year. And it's not like you're going to get – I don't think you're going to get a Ben Johnson or a Mike Vrabel. So I just think it was unfair to give Antonio Pierce 1 year. Seeing that Tom Telesco wanted to hire him. He wanted to bring him in as the head coach. So I just think it's a little unfair to give Pierce only one year.
Yeah, this is Davis's seventh head coaching hire in 13 years. He's been taking over. So it's been bad. Brady reached out to Bill Belichick.
Oh, he did?
Don't know. He did. So we'll see. I can't imagine he's leaving. I think his buyout's $10 million until June 1st. I don't think Davis has that money. I think Brady's gonna try for Vrabel, and I think he's probably going to Flores too. I would think. I think my brother was kind of like he was with you more, like give him the second year, but he was also like, I don't think he's gonna develop any better as a head coach. So, but like that's the thing. Like Mark Davis was smoking cigars with them in the locker room after the wins.
Yeah, I know.
It's just that it's such a bad organization. They've messed up a lot. So Brady's got a big role in this. So we'll see if we get it right for him. But yeah, I think he's more moving on. Especially you can get like a Brian Flores or something where it's going to be an upgrade.
And we'll wrap up talking about the Jaguars. They fired Doug Peterson. Pretty obvious firing. Doug Peterson getting fired. And but the surprise was they kept Trent Baalke as the GM. But I think there could be a chance that Trent Baalke could be gone before the draft. I mean, he's done a terrible job in Jags. He did well at the beginning in San Francisco, but then he fired Jim Harbaugh. It's all been downhill since for him. He's failed to put a team around a team around Trevor Lawrence. I wasn't surprised with Peterson, that he got fired, but Trent Baalke a little bit surprised that he's still the GM, but he could be gone by the draft.
Yeah, I'm with you, Peterson. I was surprised this happened early on in the year. There's a couple games where you thought it was going to happen here, and it just didn't work out. And pretty much since that Super Bowl run there with Philly, it's kind of been downhill for his career. And Trent Baalke, that one was surprised because their roster's. It's not great. I don't go in a year. I was somebody who thought maybe Jacksonville could bounce back, but like throughout the year, you just saw like the roster's not that talented. Brian Thomas looks like a really good. He looks like he can be a. He's got high potential there at the wide receivers position, but other than that, Baalke, I was shocked that Khan kept him on here because this is his third head coaching hire. He's gonna have two.
Third hire, yeah.
Usually you don't get that.
No, that's why I'm surprised he's still there. But I do have a feeling he's going to be gone before the draft.
Yeah,
I mean after the draft.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either. I think that's probably the right move there. But Kantz, I guess, seems like him, even though it was an awkward moment between him and Baalke was on the Zoom call yesterday, and he said something like, "Oh, if a head coach comes in here, it tells me," or it was something about like letting go of Baalke. I forget exactly what the words were. Yeah. But it was it made it look a little awkward there. So I think it's potentially if there's a head coach goes in there, make the case. I could see it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I think they should. What they really should do is align a head coach, have a head coach who doesn't want Baalke, and then fire Baalke after the draft, and then hire a GM, hire a GM who the head coach wants. If say it's Ben Johnson, hire a GM that Ben Johnson wants.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. So if they get a Ben Johnson, you got to do what he wants there to try to turn that franchise around.
Absolutely. So we will move on to the college football playoff. We were at the semifinals of the college football playoff. First game is between Penn State and Notre Dame, and I think this is going to be a really good game. It's going to be a really good game. Two teams that want to run the football, two teams that play pretty good defense. And I think the difference in this game is going to be, though, I think that Penn State has that threat in the passing game in Tyler Warren. I think he's going to be the difference in this game. And I think Penn State's going to be able to run the ball a bit better than Notre Dame. I think with Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, they're going to be able to run the ball better. Because Notre Dame, they really don't have that threat in the passing game. They really don't have that threat in the passing game. If you contain Jeremiah Love, and it's very tough to contain. I know he's going to be banged up. It's going to be tough to contain Love and Price. It's going to be tough to do. It's easier said than done. You have a very good chance to win this game. I think you do. Abdul Carter, we'll see what happens with him. We'll see if he plays or not. That's going to be the question. Is Abdul Carter going to play? That's going to be big because he's a guy who can stop the run and get pressure on the quarterback. He's a top 10 pick in the draft, so we'll see what happens there. But I think in this game, I think that Penn State's going to be able to run the ball with Singleton and Allen, and I think they're going to force a turnover from Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard only threw for 88 yards this game. And here's the thing about Notre Dame. Their defense can't just key on the run game because they have to respect Aller in the pass game. That's the difference between this game and I think the Georgia game. The Georgia game with Gunnar Stockton, I think all they had to worry about was the run game. They got to worry about both here. They got to worry about, They got to worry about Allen. They got to worry about Tyler Warren in the pass game. So I think they got to worry about both. And I think Penn State's just more Notre Dame. I feel is a little bit one dimensional. I feel like they're a one dimensional team. They're a running team. I mean, realistically, they only scored 16 points against Georgia, right? So I think they were kind of a running team that I think Penn State will contain the run. They'll force a couple turns from Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard will make his plays, especially with his legs. He did that against Georgia. He made some plays with his legs, but I think at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the team that's able to throw the ball better. I'm going to go with Penn State here. I'm going to go with Penn State to play in their first. I know they've won national titles, but I think they will play in their first national title game. I got Penn State winning this. I got Penn State advancing to the national championship game. I got James Franklin winning, probably getting the biggest win of his career at Penn State. I got my Penn State Nittany Lions winning this game 24-17 over Notre Dame. But Justin, can the Fighting Irish get to the national title game for the first time since 2012?
I'm with you here with Penn State. I got them 24-20. I think this is a mirror game of what the Notre Dame Georgia game was last week. I think it's a limited possession game. What coach tries to be way too aggressive, like you saw in the end of the first half with Kirby there.
Oh,
what quarterback? Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
that was a bad call there. What quarterback makes that one big mistake in this one? I do think points are going to be pretty hard to come by. Because I think Notre Dame's defense is absolutely legit. Al Golden, it's been awesome, and I think this is the first game back at Hard Rock since the day he was fired and lost 15-0 to Clemson.
Wow.
He's the Miami head coach, so
wow.
He goes back down there in this one, and I'm with you because Notre Dame does not, wide receiver wise, they don't have that threat. They don't even have like that great tight end this year either that they usually have that makes a difference.
Everyone's saying this is the best Notre Dame team they've seen. Look at some of the opponents they play. I know they've been red hot. I know they've won 12 in a row. Look at some of the opponents they've played. They really haven't played anyone that great, and the best team they played had their backup quarterback.
They did, and I think this defense is really good. I know these offenses, but like in that USC game, you can have success against them in their back end. Like if you can throw the ball against them, you can move up and down the field against Notre Dame's defense. It's tough to run against, but like I know they had no Riley Mills last week, but Georgia hasn't been able to run the ball all year. So maybe Penn State, who has could have a little bit better of a game running the football this week than Georgia did. The thing about Leonard, you can sack the box. He is really good, though. I feel like of avoiding sacks. That's the one thing. But Penn State hasn't seen a lot of scramble quarterbacks this year. Kevin Jennings, they did pretty good against.
Yeah.
Will Howard had 12 for 24. But like other than that, they haven't seen much. Riley Leonard's going to take off and run, so it's going to be interesting how they deal with that. But I do trust Penn State's offense a little more than I do Notre Dame's offense, and I think Allen makes a couple plays this one, and I think Penn State finds a way to win this football game.
You talk about the loss of Riley Mills too. I think that's going to hurt in this game because I think Penn State's going to be able to run the ball up the middle. I think they're going to be able to run the ball in this game. I think, and I said earlier, they have Notre Dame's defense is not just going to be focused on the run game. They got to focus on Drew Aller, and really, what quarterback has Notre Dame really played? I mean, I know they did well against Indiana with Rourke and Ellison. I think they did well against Indiana. I'll give them that. But who has Notre Dame? I mean, really played on this through the schedule. Who have they really played that has? I mean, I know they played Miller Moss and USC, and they gave up 35 points in that game. So I mean, I think Notre Dame's defense is good, but I think they're a little overrated. Notre Dame to me is overrated, and I think that Penn State's going to exploit that in this game. They're going to exploit that. And I think that Penn State did have a pretty. I know they have the easier path, but Penn State's a really good team. This is one of the best Penn State teams. This team is up there with the 2016 team that lost in the Rose Bowl. It's up there with the 2008 team that got to the Rose Bowl. Both those teams got to the Rose Bowl against UFC and the 2005 team. It's up there with those teams. I mean, they got the quarterback play. They're able to run the ball. Yeah, receiving core on offensive line a little shaky, but they're still decent. Really good defense. It's up there with those teams. So. Yeah, I'm going Penn State here. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going Penn State. I think Penn State gets the national title game here.
Going back to the Notre Dame question of the best quarterback they've played, I think it's Tyler Shuck at Louisville. Because Miller Moss didn't play that USC game. It was Jaden Maeva because Lincoln benched him for whatever reason. I didn't really pan out. Still didn't understand that call. So like. Shuck played pretty well against them. I think that's the best they've seen because I don't think it's Wegman at Texas A&M. They didn't face Hayden King. He was hurt that week, so they really haven't been that tested at quarterback. You're right. So Allard is probably the best guy that they've seen all year. So I do think Penn State could have success moving the ball if they can get it through the air. So that's why I do like the Nittany Lions this one, because I do trust their offense a little bit more. Notre Dame defense is really good, and Algon's going to get after Drew Allar in this one. But I'll take him a little bit more if I could trust him a little bit more than I can Riley Miller or Riley Leonard with his arm.
I think Drew Allar's the better quarterback in the game. Penn State's got the better offense. I feel like, and Abdul Carter is going to be big. If Abdul Carter doesn't play, that definitely could be is going to be a big loss for Penn State. It will be, but
yeah, because that Georgia tackle last week, he really struggled against the Irish. And I would assume they put because he's a true freshman. I would assume they put Carter on his side and then that probably brings a double team. Maybe you had the running back chip. So Carter could get one-on-one match with that guy. Yeah. I think he could be in Leonard's face a lot of the majority of the game.
But if Carter plays and he's right, and people are gonna talk about Boise State moved the ball. Carter was out of a lot of that Boise State game. So I think if Carter's right, I think Penn State. I know they're an underdog, but I think they win this game. I really like this Penn State team. I think they get there. I think they get to the title game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they do, and I think they 4 turnover 2 for Ryan Leonard. I think Allard plays well enough, and I do think Tyler Warren has another big game. Even though Notre Dame safeties and linebackers are pretty good in coverage, so that'll be interesting to see how they cover him. But but I do think Penn State finds a way to win this football game. So. I do give James Franklin the slight coaching advantage, even though I think Marcus Freeman's gotten a lot better.
I do think Freeman's the better coach, but I think Penn State has the more talented team, and I think they have the better quarterback. But I do think Freeman is the better coach.
You know, both coaches have blown a lot of close games towards the end. They've won a lot of close games. So it'll be interesting. I do think Franklin's done a pretty good job with this roster. I think coordinator 2, Colin Nicky versus Al Golden 2 is going to be a fascinating chess match. Because those two are very, very, very good. So that'll be a fun chess match. So I do give Penn State the slight edge, but it's not by a lot.
We'll see what happens there. We'll definitely see what happens there. It should be a really good game between Notre Dame and Penn State. But now we'll move on to the second semifinal between Ohio State and Texas. And right now, Ohio State's playing better than anybody in the country. They are playing better. I know this is the advantage Texas is going to have is kind of a home game for them, being at the Cotton Bowl. But still, I think Ohio. I looked at Texas against Arizona State, and they really don't look like a great team. They look like a team that played for an SEC team. They played a very easy schedule, and they very easily could have. And we said it last week. They very easily could have lost to Arizona State. And I think in this game, I think the running game of Ohio State continues to be good with Jenkins and Henderson. I think Howard continues to play well. I do think that Quinn Ewers will play okay, but I think he'll turn the ball over a couple times. I think the run game will be contained. And I think it'll be a good game maybe through the first half, but I think in the second half, Ohio State pulls away here. Ohio State pulls away here. They win this game. I think they win this game convincingly. I think they win this game 30-17 over Texas. But Justin, can Sark avenge what happened last year in the semifinals and get Texas to the national title game for the first time since 2009?
No, I don't think this is close. I had Ohio State 34-13. I think this is a blowout.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't like. Texas hasn't put a full 60 minutes together all year against a decent opponent. And you mentioned it. The SEC gave them a nice soft opening to the SEC.
Well, they sure did.
Conference, with that schedule.
Yeah.
The funny thing is too, if Texas wins this game, the SEC fans they'll welcome him into the club. They lose, they're not one of us yet.
Oh no, not one of you, but they did get farther than any of their teams this year.
Yeah, they did. So, that's SEC. The SEC fans will use. But the thing, too, in this one is Texas has one of the worst red zone offenses in the country. Ohio State got one of the best red zone defense. It has the best red zone defense in the country. So that means Texas is going to have to score with explosive plays. I don't know if you're getting that against Ohio State's defense, especially Bonds on 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they can do that. And the way Texas wins this football game is their defensive line has to make Ohio State's offensive line look like it did a month ago and just absolutely take the game from them.
And they have to stop the run, and they got to contain that run game. The run game of Jenkins and Henderson, that's a must.
Yeah, they have to, because on the other side, I don't think Texas will be able to run the football. No, I really don't.
I don't think so.
They can't do it in Arizona State. They did it against Clemson, but Clemson hasn't stopped the run all year. That's Dabo. Dabo's got a linebacker from Alabama, so he's using the portal. He is using the portal now. So maybe Clemson will be back there next year. But I think Will Howard, the way they're playing, again, I just think with Ryan Day, it's a Michigan problem. Whatever it is, it's a Michigan problem. And I think Ohio State, they've been using more tempo the last couple of weeks. This is a team in an absolute mission. And I think Jeremiah Smith has another great night. And again, last year when he was the recruiting or signing day, I was watching some coverage and they're like, he'd be a first round pick this year in the NFL draft. And I was like, all right, I think that's a little too far, but
he's played that way. He's definitely played that way.
Yeah, he definitely has. So I can see why they were saying that from the few highlights I was watching. He looked like an absolute talent, unbelievable talent. I'd be surprised this game's a one-score game. I think Ohio State wins this thing by like 3 touchdowns. I really don't think this is gonna be that close.
They're very easy could happen. The way Ohio State's playing right now, very easy could happen. And you talked about Ryan Day and Michigan, and yes, he has a Michigan problem. But the big question is between the two coaches, who's under more pressure going into this game, Ryan Day or Steve Sarkisian? And I think it's pretty obvious. It's definitely Ryan Day. Seeing the roster that he has, if he can't win it with this team, is he ever going to win the big game? I think he's lost a lot of big games. The Clemson in 2019. We know about the national title game in 2020. Then 4 straight losses to Michigan. The semifinal against Georgia in 2022. If he loses this game, there's going to be a lot of questions. It won't be a Michigan problem. I think it'll be he can't win the game problem.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, because now because like they get by Texas, you got a Penn State team that you've owned, or you have a Notre Dame team that you have the better athletes.
Yeah.
Like you got the recruiting edge over. I know Notre Dame played them tough the last couple of years when they played, but it would be no excuse for Ohio State to lose those 2 games. But or do you either of those 2? So yeah, I would say it's under Ryan Day because I think Stark's done a pretty good job getting this program back to where Texas should be. I think he's done a really good job up front. I do have questions about him being an in-game coach. I think he's very good at scheming, but like other than scheming, I don't think he does. I don't think he makes adjustments well. I don't think he does anything else well besides just scheming stuff up, which we've seen a lot of problems at the head coaching spot nowadays. But I think both coaching staffs are really good because Day's got Ryan or Chip Kelly on his OC, and he's got one of the best DCs in Jim Knowles. So I do give Ohio State the advantage in the coordinators' rules, but yeah, I think there's more pressure on Ryan Day because now with Oregon out the way they've looked, there is an excuse as long as there's not major injuries here that this team does not win a national championship.
Yeah, there really is no excuse. With the team, the way they've been playing, there's no excuse. It was definitely Ryan Day. And you look at Steve Sarkisian, Texas, they lost last year in the semifinal, but if he loses this game, he lost to a better team. Like it would have been we would have gotten a lot more criticism if we would have lost to Arizona. If we would have lost that Peach Bowl to Arizona State, we would have got a lot more criticism there. Here, if he loses, it'd be tough if he loses the semifinals 2 years in a row, but he'd be losing to a better team.
Yeah, he would be. And I have it by like 3 scores. I don't think Texas fans would be that happy if they lose by 3 scores and they get absolutely outmatched. But yeah, I think Stark's pretty safe right now. And I know the Texas boosters could be very impatient, but I don't know, like the way the program was under Herman and Charlie Strong, like they're in such a much better place now. And you're in the SEC, and this is a conversation for another day, but Texas A&M have a lot more money than pretty much every other school in the SEC and LOI. So I think Sark start winning that league soon, and they can start getting, they start kind of continue bringing in those classes and top 5, top 3 recruiting classes. So yeah, I think Sark's pretty safe right now, and I think he's done a really nice job getting Texas back in the forefront of college football. I just don't think the team's going to get over the hump here and win national championship.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And it looks like we both got an all Big Ten final. We got a Penn State Ohio State final in Atlanta on Monday the 20th. So we both have a Penn State Ohio State national championship game on that day. But we'll wrap up talking about some UConn basketball. And UConn's been hot. They've won 8 in a row. They got they're at Nova tonight and they're at Georgetown. And but they are without McNeely. I think that's definitely a loss. You saw on Saturday that's a loss. They got that poor start against Providence. They came back and won, but that's definitely a loss without McNeely. And for these 2 games, I think they split here. I think they beat Nova. They lose to Nova tonight with Eric Dixon. It's on campus too. I think the game's on campus, so I think that's going to be a good atmosphere at Villanova. I think they lose this one close, but I think they beat Georgetown's a surprise. I think they beat it. Now, if they had McNeely, I think they'd win both these games. But it's just hard to see them winning 2 tough conference games on the road. Nova's better this year, and Georgetown is one of the most improved teams in college basketball. They almost beat Marquette last night. So I think they split here. I think they lose tonight and they beat Georgetown. I think they split. I think they do. I think they split. And you don't expect them to win every conference game. So I think they split here. I think they lose to Nova and beat Georgetown.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they split. I think they go down tonight. I do think they find a way to beat Georgetown. But yeah, tonight's gonna be interesting. I compare this UConn team to last year's Alabama. Like, just absolutely unbelievable offense. But the question is, can they string enough stops together?
Yeah, 84 points against Providence. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, against a Providence team that's really struggled. You know, that offense is not great, but they just attacked UConn after, poor Caravan kind of, he might be back for fourth year. I don't think he's good. I know defense in the NBA is more optional, but I don't think he's got the foot speed to play at the next level right now. I don't know if he's going to be able to get that, but I hope he can. I hope he continues to get better. But tonight to me, because Eric Dixon's average 26 points a game. I think next is at like 23 points a game. So he's one of the best scorers in college basketball. He's going to be an absolute tough matchup. I would put Stewart on him. I wouldn't put Caravan. I wouldn't put Ross because Ross has been really struggling on the offense.
Yeah, Ross really struggled on offense on Sunday.
Yeah. He played like 11 minutes, so you can't. You really can't play him out there. But tonight's gonna be a shootout. Nova's 5th in the country in scoring, and they're like 190th on defense. So there should be a lot of points in this one. Both teams don't want to play fast, but I don't see a lot of I don't see a lot of stops strung together in this one. But I and then on Saturday, Thomas Sorber, Georgetown's big, he's kind of the program changing guy. I think he's gonna be a first round pick. He's so skilled, smooth, does so many things well. He's gonna be a tough matchup. I would probably put Reed on him, just to give him some physicality. But they've been without Jaden Epps, who they've actually been playing a little better without him. But Mika, TCU transfer is really good on both ends of the floor. Melvin Mack, a Harvard guy, phenomenal scorer. So Ed Cooley can still coach. He's doing a really nice job. And Georgetown's been a major surprise here. So that's probably the biggest Georgetown home game too in quite a while. So I would assume that place is gonna be more filled than it has been the last couple of years. But yeah, that was the most exciting Georgetown game that I think for me personally since the Florida Gulf Coast game in 2015 when they haven't been great since. So yeah, McNeely's a tough loss for them. They need some guys. The last couple of years, they had Klingon was out. Guys stepped up out in his absence. Even Castle last year when he's out, guys stepped up around him. So they're going to need that. Aiden Mahaney played pretty well on Sunday. He's so much better off the ball. He created late in that shot clock, and he, kind of had a couple, attack the basket, got in the paint late in the shot clock. That's kind of what they're going to need him to do again. So I'd play him off ball. But yeah, again, you're going to need guys to step up. I think they're going to hit shots. Can you just string enough stops together here? It's going to be a big thing. I think tonight they're going to struggle with that, but I do think Saturday they find a way to pull it out and hopefully get Neely back probably by the end of January. You got a week off for Creighton, so at home, but hopefully you get it back by the end of January for I think Butler and Xavier. Hopefully somewhere around there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with McNeely, and we'll see what happens with UConn this week. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with RNJ. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week talking about the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, the national championship game in college football. We'll be previewing the national title game in college football, the first ever one with the 12-team playoff, and we'll be talking some UConn basketball. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group, and here at CMG we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men, and great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.